Hey, welcome to SpaceX Daily, Episode 2. It's June 13th, 2026, and I'm Patrick in Vancouver. From Starbase to orbit, here's your SpaceX rundown. Raptor 3's full-flow staged combustion cycle and simplified turbomachinery cut the idiot index on each engine, moving Starship closer to rapid reuse economics. Raptor 3 achieves higher chamber pressure than any prior Methalox engine through a full-flow staged combustion cycle that routes all propellant through both turbopumps. The redesign eliminates the gas generator and many valves, lowering part count and production time. Thrust now exceeds 280 TF, while specific impulse remains competitive for both sea-level and vacuum variants. These gains directly address the open question of engine production rate versus Starship demand. SpaceX also opened pre-orders for a full-scale replica of the Raptor engine bell aimed at collectors and educational displays. The hardware matches the outer geometry of the flight article down to the nozzle contour and mounting flange, with production using the same additive and subtractive processes as flight hardware. Deliveries are scheduled after the next production block clears flight units. SpaceX is counting down to a Falcon 9 liftoff from Vandenberg Space Force Base, carrying additional Starlink satellites. The mission uses the same booster fleet that has already demonstrated multiple reflights from the California pad. Live coverage will stream on the company's usual channels, with pre-launch commentary beginning roughly 90 minutes before liftoff. Viewers can track the expected instantaneous launch window and first-stage recovery on the drone ship. The flight continues the steady cadence from the California site and keeps the Falcon fleet on its record reuse pace. One thing worth watching is Blue Origin's New Glenn prototype, which suffered a pad explosion during a recent Florida test. The incident removes a near-term competitor from the heavy lift manifest and shifts some NASA lunar cargo planning timelines. It highlights the technical risk still present in new booster development, even after years of investment. SpaceX's own Starship program continues to face similar unknowns around booster catch hardware and rapid turnaround. A successful New Glenn reflight would be required to restore schedule confidence for affected missions. The IPO prospectus earmarks a portion of the $75 billion raised for low Earth orbit infrastructure, artificial intelligence compute, and additional launcher capacity. The filing lists Starlink subscriber metrics and launch cadence as primary revenue drivers. Proceeds are expected to accelerate both orbital data center concepts and next-generation Raptor production lines. On the AI front, SpaceX leased capacity in the Colossus 1 facility to Anthropic after xAI reported elevated inference latency on Grok workloads. The move reallocates a portion of the Memphis supercluster while xAI expands its own racks, with Anthropic using the GPUs for large model training runs that require high bandwidth interconnects. The lease terms remain confidential, but are described as short-term bridge capacity. Aerospace firms report that AI tools are being deployed to handle repetitive engineering tasks amid a persistent shortage of qualified technicians and analysts. The software assists with wiring harness routing checks and anomaly detection in test data, rather than displacing headcount. SpaceX has not disclosed its internal usage, but operates in the same labor market. 80 South Texas residents filed suit claiming repeated Starship static fires and launches have caused structural damage to homes through vibration and overpressure. The complaint seeks injunctive relief and monetary damages tied to specific launch dates. SpaceX has not yet filed a response in the public docket. Resolution would likely require either negotiated mitigation or court-ordered limits on test cadence. The suit names 80 plaintiffs and references vibration measurements from multiple test events at the Boca Chica site. Plaintiffs allege that overpressure events exceeded levels previously reviewed in environmental assessments for the facility. No trial date has been set, and the case remains in early procedural stages in Texas state court. Separate environmental organizations sued to block a land exchange between SpaceX and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service near Boca Chica. The swap would give SpaceX additional acreage for expanded launch infrastructure in return for conservation easements elsewhere. Plaintiffs argue the exchange violates National Environmental Policy Act review requirements. A preliminary injunction hearing is expected within weeks. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service approved the exchange after determining that the conservation parcels provide equivalent habitat value. Environmental groups contend that the agency failed to prepare a supplemental environmental impact statement before finalizing the transfer. SpaceX has stated that the additional land would support expanded ground support equipment for Starship operations. Observers on NASA spaceflight forums are tracking the second Landspace Zhuke 3 landing attempt after the rocket's successful debut flight from Jiuquan. The Chinese methane rocket completed its first flight earlier this year and is now preparing for a propulsive landing demonstration at the same site. Forum members are comparing telemetry from the debut flight with public statements from Landspace on grid fin and leg deployment sequences. Analysts note that a successful landing would mark the first reuse attempt by a Chinese orbital-class booster. The Jiuquan launch site has limited downrange tracking assets, which may constrain real-time data during the descent burn. Chinese state media have not yet released a firm target date for the second flight. Unverified imagery circulating on X shows what appears to be a new grid fin actuator design on an early Starship test article at Starbase. The images depict a revised mounting bracket and motor housing compared with earlier booster fins. Observers suggest the change could improve response time or reduce mass in the fin control system. No official confirmation has come from SpaceX on whether the actuator will fly on an upcoming vehicle. The photos were taken during routine ground transport between the production building and the launch mount. Engineers on the same thread are debating whether the redesign addresses thermal loads observed during previous reentries. Residents near Boca Chica posted drone footage of recent static fire vibrations that they claim reached previously unrecorded amplitudes. The clips show visible shaking of nearby structures during a Raptor engine test sequence. Posters timestamped the footage to a specific ship static fire campaign conducted last week. Local measurements cited in the posts exceed amplitudes recorded by SpaceX's own seismic monitors in prior public reports. The footage has been shared in community groups monitoring Boca Chica test activity. No independent verification of the amplitude claims has been published by third-party seismologists. From an engineering standpoint, Raptor 3's shift to a full-flow staged combustion cycle routes every molecule of methane and oxygen through the respective turbopumps before they reach the injector. This eliminates the separate gas generator stage that previously dumped hot gas overboard, raising overall efficiency while removing several valves and manifolds. The resulting part count reduction directly attacks the idiot index, where earlier Raptors carried an estimated 4 to 5 times markup over raw materials and labor, and the new architecture targets closer to 3 times by collapsing assembly steps. That lower index matters because each Starship needs dozens of engines. Even a 20% drop in engine cost multiplies across the booster and ship. The design choice also buys margin on chamber pressure without increasing turbopump stress, because the pre-burners now operate at the same mixture ratio as the main chamber. Next, watch for the first integrated test of a full Raptor 3 set on a ship or booster static fire stand. If the simplified plumbing survives the thermal environment at 280 TF, the program gains a credible path to the production rate required for monthly flight attempts. And a quick market note, SPCX is at $160.95. Before we go, Starship's next engineering milestone remains the first tower catch attempt once Raptor 3 production stabilizes. That's your SpaceX news for today. SPCX closed at $160.95. If the show saves you time, a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify genuinely helps new listeners find it. I'm Patrick in Vancouver. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow. And before you go, this show is part of the NARA Network, a family of daily podcasts covering tech, science, markets, and more. If you enjoyed today's episode, give Modern Investing Techniques a listen. Modern strategies for Canadian and U.S. investors. You can explore the whole lineup at naranetwork.com. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.